Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So in this one here, I wanted to talk about The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live Season 2. And I wanted to talk about what Danai Gurira actually had to say about this. And again, I mean, we're nearing the end of the show, so obviously a lot of these questions are going to be coming up. And Danai Gurira actually did an interview recently with The Hollywood Reporter, and she was asked whether or not there would be a Season 2, and her answer is like the most, honestly, like the most positive about a Season 2 that I've seen yet. But I will say, she still can't say anything obviously, but I love her response to it. So I want to talk about that, and she also talks about the possibility of a Walking Dead Endgame sort of thing happening at some point in the future. So I want to break down exactly what she said here, because obviously it is very, very exciting. And I mean, we are like a week and a half away, or a little less than that, to the finale and whatnot. So when that finale airs, obviously we're going to get confirmation at that point as to whether or not they're going to be doing a season 2 and exactly how this show ends, right? But when you look at episode 4 and 5 and just where the story is right now, things are just too peaceful. Like they're all happy. They got away from the CRM. Now they're going back home. They're going back to Alexandria. It looks like things are going to happen in episode 5 that will change a lot of that, obviously. And I do believe they will be back at the CRM for the finale. And so just where do you go at that point? And is this season going to end with Major General Beale giving the echelon briefing to Rick Grimes? And yeah, just what happens there? Like I just really feel like this finale is going to be a really, really big episode. So before we go any further, make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. I will be breaking down the sneak peek. There was actually a sneak peek that was that's out there for episode 5. I do believe it's like the opening minutes. It's around there anyways because of just what you see. So expect that video coming out later on today. Tomorrow, I'll be doing some videos as well. I also will be posting a memberships video at some point. I don't know if I'll do it today or I'll do it tomorrow. It most likely will be tomorrow. It's going to be at some point, like maybe even tonight or something like that. I have a lot of stuff I got to do today after I finish videos here. Yeah, I'm going to get to work on that. And actually right now, I'm in the process of filming and like creating my own loose seal right now. And honestly, it's a lot of fun. I have the bat right now. It's actually just drying right now. So I'm really excited to see how it's going to turn out and whatnot. And if you do want to get a monthly vlog from me, then definitely consider joining the channel here. There's a join button down below. Any support at all, obviously, I appreciate so much. But let's talk about this here. So in this interview right here, so I'll leave a link down below to the article here. The article is written by the Hollywood Reporter. There's actually like a podcast version of this, I believe. Like the article here, and I noticed that actually in a lot of articles I've been reading recently, which is like they'll do interviews, but they really do sort of like edit a lot of their responses down to just like, I guess for just clarity, they'll sort of edit it all down to like, a smaller quote or whatnot. And so I believe there's actually an audio version of this interview. I did listen to the response that Danai Gurira gave regarding a season 2, and it's very, very interesting because when you actually like reading this quote right here, so we'll get into this here. So the Hollywood Reporter asks Danai Gurira, the last 2 episodes of The Ones Who Live have yet to air, but is this the end of Rick and Michonne's love story, or is there room for a second season of this show? And she responds with, I can't answer that, but AMC handed us the reins. Ultimately, what you see is our vision. So when you actually listen to the audio version of this and you actually hear Danai Gurira talk, she's a lot more positive sounding than this. Like the first part of this quote obviously sounds like it's very, very positive, but again, it's reading text. You can sort of like, it's hard to sort of interpret this unless you're actually hearing the person talk or seeing what their demeanor's like when they're talking. It's kind of hard to just read text, right? Because it's like, it could really mean anything, right? Like she could have meant this in a really bad way. Like, I can't answer that. And sounded more just like, I'm not going to be like, there's no season 2 sort of thing. But the way she says it, actually, if you listen to the podcast, is she laughs about the question. She's like, I can't answer that. And she goes into the whole thing about, AMC handed us, the story here, handed us the reins and all of that. And she kind of gets into the whole thing. And so, basically in her response to it is, yeah, she's not going to answer whether or not this is the end of Rick and Michonne's story or if we're going to get a season 2. Basically, we have to wait to see the ending here to the story. And honestly, it's hilarious. So first of all, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I'm going to leave a link down below to the article because there's a lot of talk about episode 4 in general in this article, so I really recommend reading it. Like, you go into a lot of stuff with her and, just her process of writing episode 4. Yeah, a lot of great behind the scenes stuff in there. But what I just find so interesting, like so interesting about all of this is just the fact that she can't say whether or not this is the end. So I know that, they were promoting it before as like a 6-episode event. I will say they're not promoting it as that anymore. They're not saying, look at this 6-episode event. Like that was like almost going into the show or whatever. And then they eventually kind of stopped with that. Like that's kind of done. And I will say even after episode 5 airs, their promotion next week could be like come watch the finale of The Ones Who Live, or come watch like the last episode or something like that. It's really like you have to, I know it's going to seem like it's the end, and it really is. It's one of those things where, like, unless they say like, yeah, this is the end of Rick and Michonne's story, or come watch to see how Rick and Michonne's story ends, then I feel like if they say that, then you can kind of be like, oh, that's a little concerning. Maybe this is the end, right? But if it is just like, this is like the final episode of the season or whatever, we have one more episode left of The Ones Who Live, that I just feel like, they're just kind of saying what it is, because as of now, technically, that's just sort of what it is. There's one more episode left, right? You got to remember, because when Rick Grimes left the show, they promoted it as this is the end of Rick Grimes' story. They were like, oh, only 2 more episodes left of Rick. And then there was like one last episode. This is Rick Grimes' final episode, whatever, right? And then we watched the episode, and then what happened? It was only after we watched it that they were like, all right, there's 3 movies, right? So it's sort of, in terms of the promotion and all of that, you kind of almost have to ignore it, because I feel like it doesn't say a lot. Like, we're not in the room and we can't see what they're discussing overall, right? Like, we don't know what the plans are, and we don't know how much of those plans they've really told everyone else, right? Like, the people who are sort of promoting the show, they might be working on some stuff that they were just sort of told about it, right? So they might not know actually at all. Like, really, you're just kind of, it's like, it's AMC, Scott Gimple, Danai Gurira, and Andrew Lincoln. It's them that know. And so seeing, Danai Gurira's quote here of like, is this the end of their story, or is there a room for season 2? And then she laughs and she's like, I can't answer that. I just feel like that is so, like, you said originally that this was a limited series, and now that's changed a lot. Like, just the fact that they're not saying like, no, this is it. Like, this is totally it. Like, I understand if Gimple's saying that. That's the thing. I get it if Scott Gimple is saying that, because obviously he's the showrunner. He is going to want the show to continue forever, right? Like, he's going to want to keep doing that and all of that, right? But with Andrew Lincoln and Danai Gurira, it's a little different, right? Like, they sort of have their choice. They might want to go on to do other roles and all of that. That's why I love this interview with Danai Gurira, because it really makes the whole thing here very interesting, because she was asked by EW last summer, I believe. The interview came out recently, like a couple of months ago or whatever, or maybe last month, I don't remember when. But she was asked, I believe, last May during the filming, I think, of episode 5, whether or not there would be a season 2 or just like more than just this one season. And she just kind of said, we'll see where this lands, right? So, fast forward to now, and she was asked by the Hollywood Reporter sort of the same thing, and she laughs and is like, I can't answer that. So I think, they're all feeling good. They're all feeling good right now. They definitely are feeling really good, because the ratings for the show are just absolutely incredible. I think it definitely was something that they weren't expecting. And it's also because everyone's talking about it, right? It's not like it's just a random spinoff show that really doesn't mean a lot anymore. It's like everyone is sort of watching the show. And I will say, I think a lot of that has to do with branding. Branding the show and having it a new title, a new show, the start of something, makes it more interesting, and it makes it so that people who, want to start a new show will just start with this one, right? I think if they came back for a season 10, 11, or 15 or whatever, it's a little different, because like returning to a show that has that many seasons, it's just the ratings wouldn't be the same. So you end all the spinoffs and all of that, and then you have a show like this that comes out that's called The Walking Dead: The Ones Who Live, and they're just sort of hyping up these 6 episodes, and they're really, really like, they're not talking about a season 2, but they're kind of hinting at it, but not really. It's sort of like you're causing all of this, like discussion about this, and people are so just like on the edge of their seats waiting to see it. Like, are we going to get a season 2? Like, this is exactly what they want. Like, this is what they want. They want all this discussion. They want me to be posting videos about this, just being so like, I want a season 2, and are we getting one, and all that, because it just, again, it creates all of that excitement for this show. And I don't remember the last show where we were all like this about something, right? And so that's really, really amazing. And I think that's why for Danai Gurira and everyone else, they're probably feeling so awesome about, what they put out here, because when you look at The Ones Who Live, we're only 4 episodes in, but honestly, just so incredible. Like really, really incredible art. And I love that we have this show. I'm so happy about that. But I want to get into some other stuff here. So there was another part here that I actually found very, very interesting. And this was about the talk of, because obviously they were going to be doing a trilogy of films that changed to do this series here. And so Hollywood Reporter actually asks Danai Gurira here, The Ones Who Live was originally designed to be 3 feature-length films that Universal had signed on to distribute theatrically. What prompted the change? And Danai says, it was definitely about, and then she says AMC Plus, or streamer AMC Plus, coming into play, then a new form being decided on, and then Andy and I were approached about co-creating a limited or a series of our choosing with Scott Gimple. So I think that probably was what it was. I mean, if you really look at what changed, with The Walking Dead and the plans that Gimple and everyone had, a couple of years ago, I do think that AMC Plus sort of changed everything, right? I think that they really wanted to get in on all the, just streaming services and stuff like that, because they had to sort of, like, they had to do that. And I think AMC Plus is definitely, it's smart to do that. Like, I think a lot of fans didn't like AMC Plus at first, and I think mostly the reason was because they would allow episodes to be watched early. And I think they have changed from that. I mean, they have, obviously, for the last couple of shows here, we haven't been able to watch the shows early, and I really like this. I do like the way that it's done right now, because it makes every single Sunday so exciting, like really, really so exciting. For the last however long, Sundays just haven't been that exciting, like, at all. And so we're at a place now where it's like everyone gets to watch on the Sunday, and there's not a lot of spoilers out there. Like, people will watch, obviously, as soon as the episode drops, like at midnight or whatever. But, there's not a lot of spoilers throughout the day, and people can sort of usually avoid spoilers and just watch it on cable if that's where you're watching it. So, like, Walking Dead Sundays are something that people really, really like. It does create this, like, excitement every single week because everyone's waiting for one day, right? And so I think that it's come a long way. There was definitely some issues, fans didn't like it, this and that, but I think we're now in a place, though, where it makes sense to me that instead of doing the movie trilogy and having it distributed by Universal and all of that, if AMC was gonna, like, it just makes sense. Like, if you're gonna have AMC Plus, you would want The Ones Who Live on AMC Plus, right? And I think that's why they ended The Walking Dead. They ended it most likely because they want to get the rights back eventually from, like, Netflix and all of that. And then they can have that on AMC Plus, right? And then just get all of those properties that you own on AMC Plus. And now I think something that they're probably looking into right now is, does AMC Plus, like, could it benefit from being on, I don't know, another streaming service in some way? You know how, like, there's other streaming services on, like, Disney Plus and whatnot. Like, is there a way where you can have AMC Plus and something like that? I know AMC Plus is on Prime technically, but I feel like that's a little different because that's very, like, I don't know, to me that's a little different, but I feel like that's sort of the next step overall and sort of everything being very successful here. But I will say, I think AMC has done a really amazing job managing all of this here. And that's why I think, I think it was smart to not do the movies like that, because you would have did the movies, but it would have took away from AMC entirely. And now a lot of the focus is on AMC Plus and all these incredible spinoffs here, like Dead City, Daryl Dixon, The Ones Who Live. And if this show gets season 2, like The Ones Who Live, then now you have 3 amazing Walking Dead shows, really incredible, high quality shows going for the next couple of years or whatever. And that's going to be obviously very successful here. So I'm really, really excited with where they went. I'm really, I'm interested in what they're saying here, but I'm so happy to kind of know why the movie trilogy never happened, because that was something that a lot of us were obviously wondering about for a while. And I think that it made sense, right? Like, I think it makes sense. And I do want to get into one more response right here. And this is obviously by the Hollywood Reporter here. And, there's talks of a season 2 and all of this. And I feel like when it comes to that, a lot of that depends on, I guess, the story of The Ones Who Live and whether or not certain characters survive and all of that, right? And so Hollywood Reporter asked Danai Gurira, would you be interested in a Walking Dead Endgame of sorts in which all of the spinoffs are reunited to bring the franchise to a close? Or do you feel like you have unfinished business with some of the other characters in this universe? And so she responds with, anything's possible. We poured all we had to try to make this very fulfilling experience for people, because people waited for it for a long time. So that response right there, obviously she's very open to it. And that's the thing with a lot of stuff like this, it is very much just like, because they don't want to talk about the, anything going forward after The Ones Who Live, because they want people to watch this last episode. And so, I think there's 2 ways to look at this. I think you could be upset about the fact that they won't just announce a season 2 and they're being so, like, whatever with it, right? Or you can just look at it like, well, I think that they want to savor the experience of watching this, and they really put a lot of value into that, and, like, watching these episodes and experiencing these moments of, I guess, like, it's very, like, artistic, right, what they've put together. And there's a lot of character development there that you can just really read into and study. And I like the fact that they're really making a moment of each episode. And so I agree, like, if they're going to do a season 2, wait until the finale airs, wait until everyone's watched it, and then announce everything, right? And so based off of her responses here, how do I feel about a season 2 actually happening? I feel way more positive about it. I really do. Because, Gimple can say what he's going to say about things. He's talked about things, in terms of a season 2, like saying anything's possible, this and that. But it is just, it's one of those things where you have to look at like Andrew Lincoln or Danai Gurira, right? If they're interested in doing more, or if it sounds like they're more positive, about doing more and whatnot, like that's obviously, the most important, because if they want to do it, I think Gimple, AMC, and everyone else will get on board immediately, right? So I, just her response when she was asked about, if we can get a season 2 and all that, and she kind of laughs and she's like, I can't answer that. That to me is very, very positive. And I think when you combine that with a lot of the stuff that we know, a lot of like how this just changed a lot, because it was before, it was like, no, this is a limited series, it's just 6 episodes. And then all of a sudden it changed, and they're not even like, they won't say that. Like, they're being so open about it. Imagine being this open about the possibility of there being a season 2, and then all of a sudden Rick dies at the end, and they're like, yeah, sorry, there's no season 2, it was over now. Like, they're gonna upset everyone, right? So I think they know that, and that's why you kind of have to, I don't know, like, I feel better about there being a season 2. I do. I really, really do. And I think it's good for the franchise, because that's where you want to go. You want to keep this open. And I don't know when season 2 would come out, late 2025, probably. They might film later on this year. I'm not entirely sure. But however you handle all of it, it just keeps that excitement alive, because, a Walking Dead Endgame event at some point in the future would be very, very exciting. And a lot of fans would just love that, to have everyone all together, reunited and everything, and just sort of end this era of The Walking Dead. And then I don't know where they go going forward. I mean, I guess we do know it will be a Walking Dead Next Generation, but at that point, it's going to be more about, well, I mean, if you stopped watching, that's fine. You can stop watching, but we are going to start a new story here. It's going to be something entirely brand new. There probably will be connections to the past and all of that. If they do set it 20, 30 years into the future, certain characters that are still alive, like say Daryl survives, then maybe we see Daryl, but he's much older. Right. And there could be some more aspects to it like that, but it's going to be a brand new story, probably going back down to the basics again. And I think at that point, that's fine, because if anyone wants to stop watching at that point, that's totally fine. You ended this really epic story here of just, the Grimes story or whatever. And it would just be, for me, I'm going to watch going forward, obviously. But I think to get that conclusion in any way like that, I think would be really amazing, and fans would absolutely love that. So that is really where I do see this going. Again, after I read this interview, I was like, I feel so much better about, there being a season 2. So anyways, I'm going to leave it here. Definitely post all your thoughts down below. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.